Good morning, traders. It's Saturday the 21st. Snowing outside, so I figured I'd do a quick update for the week ahead. The ES had a nice week last week after a move down on Monday, and recovered and moved higher back to 1310, which was very close to targets that we had posted in the room. If we zoom out to look at the market back in the 07 period, where we dropped off and continued this move down until March of 2009, what I'm noting is this move here on the fibs up to the 786. We came back down and tested the 50% level, and now we're moving higher. Okay, so that's the ES presently, just looking at the larger time frame. If we look at it from a weekly standpoint, we can see a little more clearly that we had, on a weekly basis, two nice moves up, okay, which is still looking bullish. And if we enable our 200 period moving average, okay, we can see that we dropped down, came up, tested it, moved back down, and then moved above it, came back again, tested it, and now we're moving higher. So we are above the 200, which is now support on the weekly and the daily basis on all the averages, okay, all the indices. So keep that in mind. Now on a monthly basis, we can note that in 09 we had the bounce move higher. In 10 we had a little move down in January, and we bounced in February. And in 11 we had a nice run the first 5 months of the year. Okay, so now we're in January again, and this looks strong for the most part. The only caveat being the volume is a little bit lower than the preceding, so we just need to keep an eye on volume and see how this transpires going into the end of January and February. Removing the volume subgraph and also enabling RSI, we can see RSI continues to move higher, but we are really starting to get overheated. Actually, we're overheated the last few days and to the end of last week. So a pullback here wouldn't be unusual or unexpected. If we look at where the possibilities are, if I took this pivot here up to this high, okay, you can see where our 50% level is, the 1286.24 area. Okay, so that wouldn't be too bad, and it would be constructive for a move higher. We could also consolidate sideways like we did when we opened in January. Okay, so those are the two possibilities. We could consolidate and move down in price, or we can consolidate sideways and then move higher. We could stair step sideways, up, and then move sideways again. Looking at the spiders, I just want to point out a shout out to No Doji, who posted this very interesting chart called the Ichimoku cloud. Okay, won't go into much detail, but basically when you're above this yellow band, obviously we're bullish. When we're below it, we're bearish, and when we're in the middle of it, it should be sideways ranging. I think that's the way it works out, but it's a very quick visual read of where we are with the market. You can see where we dipped down into the cloud and we found support. That was a buy signal, okay, to go long, all right, in the middle of December. We also saw it with our daily and hourly charts too, but it's just something to add to your arsenal. I just have it as a tab, okay, on my free stock charts, so that I can see that very quickly, just click through these, be able to analyze a position that I'm considering taking. Okay, on the spiders, note on the daily that this volume at price level, or vacuum as GTO would say, is getting smaller. which coincides with less resistance to price, and we're above here. All right. Also note that towards the end of the day, we saw a lot of activity on the spiders. And I'm not going to read into this. It could be just the S&P options that were expiring. Okay. But I do note that spike at the end of the day. All right. And if we look at the volume did increase on that. Again, I'm not going to read into it, but it was something to note at the end of the day. I mean, that's pretty substantial. All right. If any of you guys know or have followed the activity at expiration, what happens to the spiders, it'd be good to know if you could throw it in the room or respond to this video. That'd be great as a analytical tool. Okay. And something that we could look forward to in future expirations on the spiders alone. So looking at the spiders and the daily, we had this ascending triangle that I was looking at, all right, which also coincides with this volume at price or vacuum, and we are moving above that level. We are overbought on the stochastics, so a move down to this trend line isn't completely unexpected. Actually, I think it's very, very constructive. Do we move all the way down there, or do we move sideways? That's the question. Maybe we come back and test this breakout area and use that as support. We have ascending moving averages. Everything's pointing in a bullish fashion, where you have the 8, the 10, the 20, the 50, and the 200. Everything above the 200. Okay, so except for the 100, of course. So keep that in mind. If we look at the NASDAQ, the Qs, we can see we're bullish here as well. Okay, volume at price again, at least lesser resistance. We are overbought. If we look at the SOX and the SMH, the semiconductors were really on a tear last week. Okay, coming out of the gate in January. All right, we really started to move. So this gave us a signal when we got above the 50 period moving average and the other short-term period averages. This magenta colored line is the 3. This is the 10. Some people use the 8. Some use the 9. It's a short-term average. And when you get sandwiched in between these shorter-term period averages and the Bollinger Bands, there's a good possibility you could walk these bands. The sell signal would be when you drop down below the 20 and close down in this area here. But we do have the 50 down here. We could come down below the 20 and close in that area too. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's not unexpected. So you have to plan your trades accordingly. Intel's a perfect example. Had good earnings, so we have a nice pop there. Where the Bollinger Bands are starting to expand. The stochastics did cross and move back up. Okay, we have a lower volume at price. So the vacuum is to the upside. All right, and if we look at the volume, you can see that our volume's increasing as well. If you look, a friend of mine is Ace 52-week high. He's got a YouTube channel, by the way, if you like to follow the news. He writes for Wall Street Grand and also has started posting his thoughts on YouTube. So go and check him out, Ace 52-week high. Okay, he's a good friend, very smart fellow. Young, but he understands global economics, and he's got one of those magic 8 balls. So go and check him out and see what you think of his input on the news side. Back to the semis, we can see this is Ace. Was looking at AMD. I believe he had calls on this, and obviously this one had a nice move higher too. So if we look at Micron, sure, well, Micron didn't look as nice, but the thing about Intel that I like is Intel reinventing itself has now found another niche. Computers are in everything. Okay, Intel's inside of everything. Smart TV has got to be a big wave. All right, so they're thinking ahead, and I like what I see there. When you Google, YouTube, any of the videos out there on smart TV, Intel is mentioned in just about everything. So I think they found their new market. All right, and just a thought that I had. If we look at the Russell's had a nice move off the lows in November when I was first mentioning taking that IWM trade with respect to my 401k. It was a very large position and did quite well, so I'm very happy. In at the 680 level, and rode this all the way up to the 780 level, so 100 points on the IWM if you use the Russell as a benchmark. Okay, but anyway, Russell is looking good. We're bullish for the most part. We could also have a move lower or consolidation, as we pointed out previously. Bollinger Bands aren't really telling us much, but volume at price is tapered off, so getting above this level is not out of the question. Now, looking at the longer term charts, I did note that the Russell had some highs that we were testing up here, alright, that we were coming into. They're a little far off, but it's something to consider, something to keep in the back of your mind. Put it in your trading notebook. These lows here that we hit on the way up from the March lows, alright, we did break below, and in July and August we came down below the 200 period moving average, as I mentioned on the ES, but now we're above the 200 period moving average and trading higher. So the 200 on most all of the indexes, if I'm not mistaken, are all above the 200, so they're all support. Notice we're tapering off in the volume, so it's a little easier to trade to the bullish side. The Euro US dollar, of course, a lot of people were watching this recently as it broke this downtrend. Okay. Okay. Now this could just be short covering. We could hit this level here as resistance, which is just a little bit higher at the 132 level. Or if the Greeks could manage to work something out with the bondholders this weekend, which I don't expect to happen, but you never know, this could move higher as well. So as I was mentioning, or ACE 52 week high, my friend was talking to me about on the weekend, the next thing he's expecting is Portugal. We've gone around trip where we had the flash crash with the first Greek issues, and then we came back around, we revisited Greece again, and the market's just been overburdened by this news. But lately, during this period of time here on all the indices, we have seen prices moving higher despite bad news. So until that picture changes, I do have a bullish leaning. However, I am flat going into the weekend. I have a couple of small trades on some regional banks. In the room, you may notice that I've been watching the regional banking ETF, KRE, which, anyway, so I did note on stockcharts.com that beginning of the previous week, Regions Financial Corp was the top of the most active list on stockcharts.com. Okay, so we got ahead of this and started trading this to the upside. Okay, KJ Trader and myself have the January 2014 calls on this. We got in around the 58 to 60 range, and it's trading around 70 cents. 75. It was offered or at the ask of 81 cents on the close on Friday. So keep an eye on that. Gas is in Ozark, which has done really well. Okay, had a nice move off the lows in September, and now Bollinger Bands are starting to squeeze. Note that the volume at price is tapering off, so expect this to consolidate, maybe going down to the 50 and then move higher. Many of you were looking at GS on the week, during the week. You can see where we've got this vacuum up here. Alright, when you hear me mention that, that's what I'm talking about, right? But anyway, GS really had a nice move as well. And if you look at the XLF, which I believe GS is part of, right? You can see that we're moving above the 200 period and looking good. So I would expect this, if it continues to move higher, Bollinger Bands are both pointing higher, which means when they're both pointing higher that this could grind between short-term period average and their Bollinger Band. Okay, this can move up a little bit higher and come back and test the 200, which is what I'm expecting. So all the averages down below this, so I'm expecting these. The 3 period already passed through the 200. We have the 10 next, and then the 20. Okay, so pull back to the 20 would be nice and a good entry level. If you haven't already noticed, I am on Chartly, StockTwits. Okay, come check me out. This is my user handle. Okay, I usually post every day. At the end of the day, the closing charts of the closing prices on the ES. All right, so keep that in mind. Come and check me out for your new traders, and I usually give you targets for the next day. You can see we got 1318 and 1338 with both the caveat that we can move lower, and we're looking at the 1273, 1286 level for a pullback possibility. And I'll also usually post on my blogspot, optionsdelta.blogspot.com, a weekly video. If you don't want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can subscribe here as well, and you can keep a track of all of the videos that I post and my thoughts for the week going ahead. Okay, for the week ahead. Take care. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you on Saturday the 21st of January, where it's snowing outside and we're stuck inside the house. I'm going to have to go upstairs and help the wife with the children. They sound like they're killing each other. So take care. Remember to use your stops, and we'll talk to you soon.